Markets are 40 odd points off the day's high, but again, no major concern or no major selling pressure that we have seen. BhavdeepSingh, CEO at Fortis Healthcare, is now joining us live from Delhi. Sir, firstly, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Fortis Healthcare has been in focus for the last 2-3 quarters, and the key reason has been because the greenfield startup cost has reduced, or you all have stopped that, as well as you all have rationalized some of the unviable projects. Can you just tell us the progress over there? Are things going on in that direction that was predicted 6-8 months back?
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. I think, Pankaj, if you look at what's happening in the business, as you've probably heard us say in the past, is that in any greenfield situation, there's a maturity period, a normal maturity period that takes place. It's everything from the brand being built, people becoming familiar with what's happening, as your talent, you build the talent that you have in the organization, doctors continue to join. So I would tell you that looking across the organization, the greenfields have certainly come on, and whether it's the Gurgaon hospital, whether it's any of the newer projects we have, they continue to mature, they continue to do well. I think apart from that, just generally speaking, because I think that's just one small piece of the story. The organization, which is now 14 years old, our year-on-year growth continues to do well. And I think that's looks to continue as we go forward. So year-on-year growth, hospitals that have been around for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, they all continue to grow as well. So I think all the way across, as I look across the organization, there's lots of good things happening, and we feel good about the future as well.
Right. About if you just rewind 3 to 4 years back, there were a lot of debt issues, or debt was quite high. And at Fortis, we've taken a lot of steps to reduce that. Right now, is it at comfortable level, and you expect it to be comfortable level going ahead?
Well, certainly the debt scenario was such that we had taken on a lot more debt. You'll recall that started back in 2011 when we decided, we thought about expanding beyond the Indian waters and overseas, expanded between Asia, the Middle East, etc. And then more recently, in the last 12 to 18 months, we've decided to pull it back in and focus on India. There's enough to do within the 4 walls of India. We have 1 billion people here that we can provide quality health care to. So the debt numbers have come down as we've exited our foreign investments. I think we're at a comfortable level, but I would tell you that, as any leader might tell you sitting here today, listen, debt is manageable, but I'd love to bring it down even more. And certainly anything we can do to bring it down, we'll do that. But I don't lose any sleep over where we are. I think our ratio from the size business we're in good position. But certainly anything we can do to bring it down some more, I would take every opportunity to do that.
Right. So Macquarie has been very bullish on your name, Fortis Healthcare, and one of the key reasons that they highlight is that the domestic business, after the focus that you were just pointing out, has shifted to domestic business. The domestic business profitability is at an inflection point with the ramp up of new hospitals being rationalized. So the growth that we have seen, you expect those growth rates to continue from the domestic side and those to lead the numbers going ahead?
I do, and I certainly agree with Macquarie's assessment of where we are, and many others as well. I think what's happening is that our focus in India has done a couple of things. One is it certainly allows you to bring the organization's movement in one direction and have everybody move forward. I think in one way, I think that's a great thing to do. I think beyond that, while we have greenfields, the other thing that's happening in Fortis is we continue to mature. And we continue to look at new medical programs, and medical programs certainly are the heart of what we do with respect to doctors taking care of patients. So if you think back to 14 years ago when Fortis started, I would tell you that for the first 4 or 5 years, we were primarily a cardiac institution. We started with Mohali, we went to Noida, we had Fortis Escorts in Okla, and a significant piece of what was happening was cardiac related. Then came the neurosciences, then came orthopedics, gynac, etc. What's happening today is that medicine continues to evolve. The disease burden in our country continues to change and evolve. We opened up, we broke ground on our first cancer center in 2009 in Noida. Today we have 5 cancer centers and looking to add more as well. There's 1 million new cancer patients diagnosed in India every year. So certainly that means that you have to continue to invest in that direction. The transplant environment, the organ transplant environment is changing very significantly. Unfortunately, we have 500,000 people in India that die every year because they don't get an organ, a body organ that they need. We're moving very, very significantly. We're very proud of what's happening in our Fortis Muller Hospital, where we have the largest organ transplant program in the country, in Asia as well. In fact, this morning, I'm really pleased that this morning we did a heart transplant where for the first time a body organ, a heart, was moved through commercial aircraft. And it's tremendous because when you can start doing things like that and move things faster, you can save that many more lives. So I think that it's a combination of the greenfield hospitals maturing and coming on stream, becoming more viable, becoming more profitable. But I think it's the older hospitals that continue to grow. And ultimately, it comes down to clinical programs, comes down to great patient care, and great clinical outcomes. So I think when you look at all of those things and you look at a very focused organization that's now not thinking about half a dozen different things but focusing right on India, I think the net is that we have lots to feel good about, lots that we can do in the country, lots that we can do for the citizens of India.
Right. So the point that you made about new and different things happening in, does that tell you that industry continues to be in a growth phase? Because learnings from previous falls that we have seen in the healthcare space, you think now would get into specialized area and newer areas would open up for better growth, not only at Fortis but for the entire industry?
I think that this is a tough industry to say that we feel good about disease or we feel good about people getting sick. But unfortunately, whether it's lifestyle diseases, whether it's just the further diagnosis of ailments that people have, unfortunately, and when you have a population that's as large as ours, the reality is that there's a lot to do. There's a lot of people that that need to be diagnosed, that need to be treated, and certainly I think Fortis will be there to do that. Other organizations will as well. I think beyond that, I think there's a huge opportunity from a prevention perspective, education perspective, and I take my role as a business leader in the healthcare environment very seriously. That as much as it is our job to diagnose and heal, it's also our job to educate and prevent. And so I think when you look at both of those things, and you look at again, if you look at childhood obesity is becoming a big topic in our country, generally eating habits, what people are doing, the lifestyles that they have. Unfortunately, I think that we have some challenges on that front. Now, for Fortis, I think the opportunity to be there, to take care of people, to heal, by the investments we're making, by the clinical strength that we have, yes, I do believe that I think the industry will continue to grow. I think the industry will continue to do well. But hopefully, as this is going forward, I hope the byproduct is that we're actually building a healthier India, and our people are living longer and healthier and happier lives.
Right. So one of the key reasons has also been that right now the population seems to be, essentially between a bracket that they don't fall ill. But 10 years down the line, say in 2025 or 2026, this population would start getting slightly more aged. That time, do you believe that, the growth that we are seeing now would be invested and we would have sufficient number of beds to actually cater to this requirement? Is that a big challenge towards the healthcare industry?
I think that, as the industry stands today, I don't think we have a challenge per se when you look at how many beds we have. I think the issue is how do you get to more patients? And how do you get to more patients, and how do you bring healthcare to the people who need it? I would say that, that as we go forward, I think a challenge is going to be one of the things that we're working on, and I feel good about some of the plans that we have around this, is to make sure that you have the clinical talent that's required. I think that, as an industry, we're pushing very much for the Made in India. You've heard, the Prime Minister's talked about that, and I think that when it comes to equipment and technology, we're bringing in equipment from overseas, and quite honestly, that's sometimes cost prohibitive. So I think we have to move in that direction as well. I think that a culmination of the efforts that the private sector is doing, I think partnership with the government. I do think that as the disease burden challenge continues here, I think we'll be able to, because there's lots of investment coming in as well, right? If you look at the industry, there's lots of foreign investment coming. Organizations like Fortis, we're at 4,400 beds. We can double our size in the next 3 to 5 years without adding a single hospital. We can double our size in terms of bed capacity just within the existing 4 walls of Fortis, and how many hospitals we have, we can become 9,000 beds. But other organizations are growing as well. So I think appropriately so, a combination of organizations like Fortis growing, other players in the marketplace growing, new investment coming in domestically, and certainly new investment coming from overseas. I believe that our capacity will be there. Now, ultimately we have to make sure that we're fitting, the right amount of beds in the right location. But I generally feel that the direction we're heading in is the right one, and again, ultimately, hopefully, leading to a healthier India.
Right. Sir, as far as last 2 years are concerned, SRL seems to have done quite well, the diagnostic business that is. You think that will continue to grow in the next 3-4 years? The investor interest in some of the diagnostic business which are coming up for offerings have also been quite good.
Listen, I believe the SRL business is a fantastic business, and we have a wonderful leadership team there led by Sanjeev Vashisht. I think the business has done, as you've seen the numbers, double-digit growth, solid growth. We're running I think the business is being run well with respect to collection centers, with respect to the diagnostic prowess that we have, the technology that we have. And I think that the business will do well. Unfortunately, again, I think that one of the whole areas when it comes to prevention, early diagnosis, early treatment, means that you'll continue to do tests. The other piece of the diagnostic side is that there's so much research being done. There's so many clinical trials being done. And I think, if anything, that the type of tests, the complexity of tests that we'll be doing, whether it's on the diagnostic side, whether it's on the pathology side or the radiology side, again, combined with everything else that you've heard me say till now with respect to the disease burden, absolutely tremendous growth going forward, and we just feel very, very good about what's happening at SRL, and fantastic business. And again, hopefully, we continue to grow, and I think we'll see just that as we go forward.
Right. As far as margins are concerned, they have been at a record high. They have continuously been expanding. I'm only talking about the diagnostic business. You think these margins are maintainable with such high growth industry, a lot of competition coming out, raising funds, trying to open new diagnostic centers? 28% margin you think should be maintained going ahead?
I do. I think the margin numbers are very sustainable. I think that, again, if you look at whether it's the dengue season that we've had recently, whether you look at the various the pre-screening diagnostics that we're doing, the whole function of a diagnostic environment is not just about the competitive landscape. It's about the equipment you have, the technology you have, the clinicians you have to actually do the diagnostic. And I think our brand is so strong. I think the faith and that the clinicians have in us, that across India, the doctors and nurses have, the patients have with us. We go door to door as well. We go right to patients' homes if required, and so across the board, I do think the margins are sustainable. I think the business is sustainable, and again, I don't see any reason that we'll see any sort of a pullback there at all. On the contrary, I see further growth, further opportunities to further grow this business as we go forward.
Right, so with just the response coming in on the diagnostics, any sort of plans to demerge the hospital and the diagnostic business into two entities? Any sort of plans at this point of time?
No, our financial structure, we're very, very comfortable with our financial structure. I mean, these are complementary businesses, and we don't see any reason to do that. I think there's all sorts of speculation from time to time, but I have to tell you that that requires a great deal of thought, a great deal of thinking, and I think where we are today we feel good about. On the contrary, the conversations we're having is how do you continue to build on this partnership, how do you continue to get to more patients. Changing the financial structure, we don't see any value in doing that. We're very happy with where we are today, and don't see any change as we go forward.
Sir, thank you so much for taking out time for us. A pleasure talking to you and knowing the business at Fortis Healthcare and how things are changing over there. That was the management of Fortis Healthcare, very bullish on the hospital and the diagnostic business, and they see growth continuing into this business the way it has been, because healthcare sector itself is at a very, very niche stage. Meanwhile, as we were focusing in on Fortis Healthcare, markets have given up some of their gains, but they are still up about 38, 39 odd points. At the 7,800 mark, markets are looking decently strong considering what happened to